We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Karl. Karl does occasionally enjoy watching 3D. Okay, Karl. I watched 3D this last week.
Ah, good.
On the whatever projector it is. Is it the Epson Power Light Home Cinema 3700?
Ah, nice.
And the little glasses, flickering glasses and stuff like that with the Dread 3D
Okay.
Blu-ray. Yeah, I still hate it. I'm sorry. I tried. The best I can ever say about 3D is that it's distracting. Like, I notice it. And then the worst I can say is it adds, like, moire at times. The best thing it did, it totally added moire to this one pan on the very beginning of Dread. As it pans across yellow buildings with the little lines.
That's a particular kind of torture test for a 3D, that scene. Yeah.
I know, but hey, it did it. It's not my fault. I just noticed it.
That's why it's a torture test.
If you want to say something really good, is if you watch Blu-ray on a decent screen that's well calibrated and stuff like that, you will notice, like, from scene to scene, it will go from like VHS quality for some reason to super duper sharp, HD quality, and it's like camera to camera. And I literally think they were like, oh, we're out of money, dude. We can't reshoot this stuff. We gotta go with what we got. I think that's what happened, and it's very distracting to me. Well, with the 3D glasses, I didn't notice it so much. Maybe it was because I was being distracted by other things. But I didn't notice some of that graininess that it was bothering me so much before. It wasn't bad. It's distracting. I don't necessarily like it. It gave me a little bit of a headache, but it worked. It was fine. It was fine. Never doing it again. Karl does occasionally enjoy watching 3D now that he has a JVC X750 projector. He's pondering buying a set of 3D glasses and a 3D emitter. Should he only buy the JVC branded glasses and the emitter that's specifically mentioned in the JVC manual, or could he consider one of the less expensive third-party options?
This is more complicated than it ought to be.
Yeah, this is one of those things, dude, where you're like, oh yeah, this is going to totally work. And then, if it were me, I would stick with whatever JVC told me to do, because it's going to work.
Except they charge $175 for one pair of glasses, so that's why, because that's ridiculous. Reading through AVS, apparently these JVC projectors, because they're liquid crystal on silicon, so it's this reflective technology, and they actually end up with polarized light. Now, they're not using that polarized light for the 3D effect. It happens to be polarized light that comes out of these things. And if your screen is reflective enough, if it has any type of higher gain coating or embedded glass beads, or it has a silvery sheen to it or anything like that, enough to just polarize, it retains some of that polarization in the light, then basically no other glasses besides JVC's work properly. The company Expand, or Expand, or however they pronounce themselves, they made some glasses that work.
Expand. That sounds like,
I'm sure it's Expand, but the way it's spelled is like capital X Pan.
I get it.
Capital D.
Get it.
Yeah, apparently they made some specialized glasses specifically to work with JVC projectors, but you had to write to them and get it special ordered for you. It was a whole weird thing. So the short answer is, it's kind of safer to just go with the JVCs. Some people have said if they have a very matte screen with no gain, no reflectivity to it, that essentially destroys the polarization of the light when it hits the screen, and then they can use third-party glasses and it works all right.
Wow.
But they still get some glitches here and there. So the safe answer, unfortunately, because of the price, is to stick with JVC in this case.
Second, he says, what is our opinion on projector keystone correction? First of all, I don't know if there's any other kind of keystone correction. Like you can't do that on like a flat panel. I avoid it at all costs.
At all costs. Oh, okay.
I mean,
I
I
won't go
do.
that far.
I will avoid it as much as humanly possible,
Yeah.
as long as it like if there's a little bit of trapezoidal stuff going on, but it's not like super dramatic. I'll just sort of live with it
Live with the trapezoid rather than doing keystone correction.
rather than
Right.
doing keystone. I might if we're talking about like one like going one in whatever direction it is to make
Right.
it straight is what makes it straight, or maybe two, a setting of two, depending on how fine of keystone correction control you have. I probably would just live with the keystone correction. I have lived
Yeah.
with it before. You don't notice it, I don't think, until you notice it. You know, until it's so bad that you notice it, don't use it. But once you
Yeah.
notice that the people are lines aren't straight and people are stretched out weird, then you're gonna have to go ahead and do it, and then you do, and then it's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but I would rather know in my brain that there's keystone that I should keystone it because it's not a perfectly square image, but not be able to notice that on the screen, than know in my brain that I have keystone it and look at the screen occasionally going, I wonder if that I just saw there it was because of the keystoning. That would
Right.
drive me nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to have if you really, really need it, but
Right.
I would avoid it as long as it is possible to avoid it. The reason is what keystone correction is doing is, let's say you have a 1080p resolution projector and
Right.
you are playing a Blu-ray on it, so that Blu-ray is putting out exactly 1920 by 1080 pixels, and your image, your projector has exactly 1920 by 1080 pixels. You call that one-to-one pixel mapping, exactly one pixel in the source for exactly one pixel in the display. As soon as you apply keystone correction, you have destroyed that. You are now digitally scaling the image in some way, and you no longer have one-to-one pixel mapping. You are scaling the image to alter its shape. So yeah, if you must tilt the projector in order to get the top and the bottom of the screen to properly line up with the top and bottom edges, and that creates some keystone effect. If it isn't severe, I would live with the trapezoid shape rather than apply the digital keystone correction. It has to get fairly severe, but then it's nice to have, because then at least you can square up the image.
That's right.
And
it's better to have it and not use it than not have it at
Right,
all.
right.
That I would agree with that. So Carl bought his first Ultra HD Blu-ray, which was a rival, which I would like to see. Sounds very interesting. And he was unpleasantly surprised when he discovered it does not have Atmos. He was thinking either Atmos or DTS-X would be a minimum audio requirement on Ultra HD Blu-ray. Is this not the case? Do many other Ultra HD Blu-rays lack immersive audio?
Quite a few do.
I would guess so. I mean, a lot of people think, why not just put out the newest thing and ignore all the rest of it, and then people will buy it and go, how come this isn't on there? Oh, don't worry. We're going to be putting out the Ultimate Edition.
Special edition.
The special Atmos edition, and then the special HDR10 edition, and the special Dolby Vision edition, and then the special got all that stuff plus Oro 3D for the 5 people that have the Voice of God speaker.
Still waiting on those discs that Sony announced. Well, we don't know which titles, but they said they were going to do some. Yeah, I would refer you to nextgenhometheater.com. He keeps an excellent list. And if you go to their UHD 4K Blu-ray section, he actually puts in parentheses whenever the disc has either Atmos or DTS-X. So it's very easy to look through the list and see which ones have DTS-X and which ones have Atmos. If it doesn't have anything in parentheses beside it, then it does not have immersive audio. It will have, most of them are DTS HD master audio if it doesn't have either Atmos or DTS-X. So yeah, you can refer to that list. More than half do have immersive audio, but not overwhelmingly more than half. So quite a few Ultra HD Blu-rays do not have immersive audio, unfortunately.
Lastly, ask, is IMAX 12 track their version of Dolby Atmos? Isn't that a channel-based system?
It is a channel-based system. It is
so what
not
this is think of it more like your normal surround sound.
Mm-hmm.
Each speaker gets its own track, its own information.
Yep.
No matter where you actually physically place that speaker within the theater, it gets the same information no matter what. With Dolby Atmos and DTS-X, theoretically, it's object based, which means there's a processor that's basically saying, I know where the speakers are. I will try to use those speakers to best effect to create that audio to be in the place that it's supposed to be within the 3D space. So the difference being that in order for IMAX 12 to give you the same sort of effect, the speakers must be in the same place at every single theater as the mixing studio, the original mixing studio.
Given IMAX's pretty strict
I was gonna
standards
say,
on how their
yeah.
theaters are built, not really a problem.
That seems entirely reasonable. So do you need to have object-based audio if you're IMAX? I would say no. You do not need
probably
to
don't.
build
of
that
course,
technology.
The similarity that they have is that IMAX 12 track has some speakers on the ceiling.
Right.
So that's what makes it similar to Atmos, but it's not exactly the same because it's not object-based, but since the mastering areas and the actual theaters line up very nicely, it'll work just as well.
Right. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.